Hi, it's Joe Mazumdar of Exploration Insights at the September 2021 edition of the Virtual Metals Investment Forum. And these are the backstage interviews with companies that have presented at the conference. And with me today, Executive Chairman Kerry Knoll of Generation Mining. Kerry, how's it going?
Great. How are you, Joe?
Good, thank you. Generation Mining is all about the Marathon Palladium copper project in Northern Ontario, which finished the feasibility study recently, 2021, and now is basically in development stage. So could you tell us basically a little bit of background about the project?
Sure. Sure. So we acquired this project in July of 2019. It had two feasibility studies done previously to it, back about in 2010 and 2014. Those were, unfortunately, for the owners at those points, done at much lower palladium prices. The first one was done at $321, and the second one was done around $600 an ounce. And it wasn't economic at those, even though the studies actually showed it to be. It really, truly wasn't economic at those palladium prices. So they were looking at it more as a copper mine. And more recently, of course, palladium has gone up, as has copper, and so now it's mainly a palladium mine with a really nice copper credit. And we're looking at doing about 25,000 tons a day, producing about an average of 245,000 ounces of palladium equivalent. That's about 300,000 ounces of gold equivalent a year, and at a cost of all-in sustaining cost of just over $800 an ounce palladium. So palladium still, even though it's come down $1,000 from its high, it's still trading at over $2,000 an ounce, and that's significantly higher than we used in our feasibility study.
And also, I mean, we could just talk about the palladium price, because it has come off a bit of a cliff, and that's related apparently to the chip shortage and the ability to make new cars, and the demand for for the catalytic converters, I think.
Yeah, correct. So when in spring of this year, when palladium went up to $3,000 an ounce, that was a combination of the car companies ramping up over the past winter after COVID, and the speculators going along the palladium price, and that pushed it up to $3,000. And then when this chip shortage hit in the spring, and at first everybody thought it was going to be something that was a month or two, and then it was going to be 5 or 6 months, and now they're talking about it going into next year. Well, that has cut about 7% of car manufacturing around the world, which doesn't sound like much, but that's palladium that's not being used in each car that's being made. So until the chip shortage is alleviated, the price of palladium is going to probably be somewhat weak. Now, that said, one analyst I was reading just the other day said that, hey, despite the 7% decline in car manufacturing, palladium is still in deficit. So it's not as if it's getting stockpiled and set aside and is going to hit the market when cars are coming back. It's still in deficit. So it is down $1,000 an ounce, but it probably was overpriced, and now it's probably underpriced. So we're expecting that when the chip shortage is alleviated, we're going to see a bit of a boom in palladium again.
I guess this is the difference between near term and medium term, and the medium term is really where this project is fitting in. And for people out there to understand, like, palladium is not about the electrification of cars, but it's almost like a near-term solution that goes into hybrid cars and current cars to reduce the emissions of toxic elements. Is that correct?
Yeah. I like to say that the palladium is not the metal of the future; it's the metal of now, and it's going to be the metal of now for the next 10 or 15 years, simply because people are still going to drive gasoline-powered cars, even if they're not buying new cars. There's emissions testing that require people to upgrade their catalytic converters from time to time. Usually they have about a 10-year mine life or 10-year operating life. So you've got the demand is going to be here for the foreseeable future. And the main thing that for as far as greenhouse gases go, palladium scrubs out the nitrous oxide that comes from gasoline. Nitrous oxide is 300 times more potent as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. You don't hear about it that much simply because we're dealing with it, but yet you need palladium to continue dealing with it.
Okay, so you've got this palladium copper project, but really, I mean, when you produce your end product from the feasibility study, you're actually producing a copper concentrate
Correct.
with the palladium inside, and then you're selling it to a smelter. So I'm wondering, in terms of demand for copper and copper concentrates, how does your potential product fit in the market?
Well, in our discussions with the smelters, and we've recently hired the head of copper concentrate marketing for Glencore to work with our team. And it appears that there is a worldwide copper concentrate shortage, I should say, and especially for clean concentrates like ours. So we are getting a very receptive market for it. It's all about negotiating terms, and that's why we brought this fellow's name's JP Deco. That's why we brought him onto our team to help us negotiate to get the best terms.
So yeah, from what I understand, like in a lot of these porphyry copper deposits, we're finding a lot more arsenic in them, and probably traders, and that would be interested in a concentrate that's clean that they could blend some of the arsenic-rich concentrates with.
Exactly.
So you've got, your feasibility study. You brought on some your engineering people right now, like Drew Anno, who was instrumental in a Detour, large open pit again in Northern Ontario. We've seen a lot of permitting recently of open pit projects like Magino, Cote, and Hard Rock. So your risks going forward right now, since Sibanye has left and given you 81% of the project, how are you mitigating those?
Well, the biggest bottleneck we do have is permitting, and it does take longer than we think it should. Now, that said, we expect to get our environmental impact study approved. We don't see any roadblocks to that. It's just a matter of time. The timing that we have said for a long time is middle of next year. We hope that's going to be doable. The process going forward from here is we need to meet sufficiency, which we're getting closer to, meaning that the panel reviewing this doesn't have any further questions. Then we have community hearings. Then they have 90 days to make their recommendation to the federal and the provincial ministers. So that's our schedule going forward on the permitting. This is on the critical metals list for Canada. We don't see a problem getting our permits. We do see, obviously, it's taking longer than we want, but it is what it is, and we're going to get through it. At the same time as we're doing that, we are going to start our detailed engineering program so that we're ready to start building once the EA is approved and the permits are granted. And then we're also, at the same time as all of this, is arranging the debt and possibly streaming and possibly, a number of different avenues towards financing the mine. And there's smelters involved, and there's private equity companies that are looking at it. And we've got quite a suite of possible financiers examining this project. So we're trying to get through that. We need to raise $50 million over the next this year sometime. And to do that, we're trying to do it in a non-equity fashion, whether that's a deal with a smelter or a streamer or someone, a lender or someone like that. We've got a lot of proposals on the table. We're going through them all. There's site visits happening. So the process is going on, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Right, because not only do you produce copper and palladium, but you also produce precious metals and platinum and some other elements that a streamer might be looking at.
Yeah, the streamers are mostly interested in the gold and silver, which is about less than 5% of our revenue, but nevertheless, it's a significant amount of dollars. So that's the main thing that's on the table. Although some of the streamers are looking at other metals as well.
So I guess in terms of financing arranging, you've got, I think you want to bring on a significant amount of debt, but because of the paucity of copper concentrates, the potential for offtake agreements and some other forms of financing are open to you as well.
Correct. Yes, and that's what we're looking at, the whole suite of and it's there's so many different ways this can go, but it's going to happen. It's doable. I mean, it's a financeable project. It's got a 30% internal rate of return at significantly lower metal prices than we're experiencing today.
So just going to if somebody was interested in generation mining, what kind of sort of news flow should we expect over the next 6 to 12 months from the company?
I think it'll be a combination of some permitting, some financing, hiring. We're bringing on some new people, pretty significant hires, and also the getting the detailed engineering going. All of the things that you need to do to progress towards a mine, and we're doing all of those. And then at the same time, we're expecting a rebound at some point in the palladium price, whether that happens in October, November, or doesn't happen until the new year. We do expect it to happen.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kerry, for joining us here. And that's it for me, Joe Mazumdar of Exploration Insights at the September 2021 edition of the Virtual Metals Investment Forum. Hopefully that was helpful, and we'll see you at the next conference. Cheers.
Thanks, Joe.